Right now, you're probably comfortable. Maybe there's heating in your home, maybe there's food in your fridge, maybe you're wearing clothes that were made in a factory thousands of miles away and delivered to your door. You didn't have to hunt for any of it. You didn't have to build any of it. You barely had to think about it. Now imagine losing all of that. No electricity, no supermarkets, no central heating, no insulated walls, just freezing wind, endless snow, and temperatures cold enough to kill you before sunrise. For most of human history, that wasn't a disaster. That was just winter. And somehow, our ancestors survived it. Not once, not for a few years, for tens of thousands of years. Long before cities existed, long before farming, long before anyone understood what a thermometer even was. Which raises a strange question. How did a species that evolved in Africa survive some of the coldest periods in Earth's history? Because if you compare humans to almost any cold weather animal, we look completely unqualified. A mammoth had thick fur. A polar bear has layers of fat. Reindeer can travel hundreds of miles to find food. Humans? We're basically hairless primates with terrible natural defenses against the cold. Without shelter and protection, hypothermia can kill a person in just a few hours. On paper, Ice Age winters should have destroyed us, but they didn't. And the reason says something remarkable about what makes humans different. The first weapon wasn't a spear. It wasn't a bow. It wasn't even clothing. It was fire. Fire changed everything. Not just because it provided warmth, because it extended the day. It made food safer to eat. It kept predators away. And perhaps most importantly, it allowed humans to survive environments their bodies were never designed for. Archaeological evidence suggests humans were regularly controlling fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. By the height of the Ice Age, fire wasn't a luxury. It was survival itself. When wood became scarce, people burned bone and animal fat. Anything that could produce heat became valuable. Because losing a fire in winter could mean losing your life. But fire had one major problem. You couldn't carry it everywhere. The moment you walked away from it, the cold returned. So humans found another solution. They borrowed nature's insulation. Every animal they hunted provided more than food. Its skin became protection. Its fur became warmth. Its tendons became thread. Its bones became tools. Nothing was wasted. And then, humanity invented something so small that most people would never think of it as a civilization-changing technology: the sewing needle. Thousands of years before metal factories existed, people were making needles from bone and ivory. That allowed them to create fitted clothing, layers, gloves, boots, sleeves that sealed around the wrists. The difference between throwing a hide over your shoulders and wearing a tailored winter coat is enormous. And that difference may have helped humans spread into some of the coldest regions on Earth. But surviving winter wasn't just about what you wore. It was also about where you lived. And this is where things become surprising. Because many Ice Age people weren't hiding in caves. They were building homes. Real homes. In places where trees were scarce and temperatures were brutal. In parts of modern-day Ukraine, archaeologists discovered circular structures built almost entirely from mammoth bones. Imagine that. An animal so massive it could kill you, eventually becoming the walls that protected your family. These shelters were insulated with hides, soil, and vegetation. Some were partially dug into the ground to trap heat. Others were designed to reduce wind exposure. They weren't primitive. They were clever. Extremely clever. But surviving winter wasn't only about staying warm. It was about staying fed, because cold can kill you quickly. Hunger kills more slowly. And winter often brought both. For months, edible plants disappeared, animals migrated, food became unpredictable. So humans learned a skill that may have saved our species more than any weapon ever invented: planning ahead. When hunters made a large kill, they didn't simply eat until they were full. They preserved it. They dried meat, smoked it, stored it underground, used freezing temperatures as a natural refrigerator. Winter wasn't something they reacted to. It was something they prepared for. And perhaps the most important survival tool of all was other people. Humans survived because humans cooperate. A lone person in an Ice Age winter had very little chance. A group had many. People shared food, shared shelter, shared labor, shared knowledge. Every generation inherited survival techniques from the generation before it. How to build, how to hunt, how to preserve food, how to stay alive. Knowledge became as valuable as fire, maybe more valuable. Because a fire can go out, knowledge survives. What's fascinating is that humans never truly adapted to the cold the way other animals did. We didn't evolve thick fur. We didn't grow protective fat layers. We didn't become better equipped biologically. Instead, we changed the environment around us. We built tools, clothes, shelters, communities. We engineered solutions, and that's what makes the human story different. Most species survive by changing themselves. Humans survive by changing the world. Think about that for a moment. The ancestors who lived through the Ice Age faced conditions that would terrify most modern people. Temperatures far below freezing, food shortages, dangerous predators, disease, injury, starvation. And yet they endured, generation after generation. Long enough for civilization to eventually emerge, long enough for cities to exist, long enough for you to be here. Today, winter is mostly an inconvenience. You press a button and the room gets warm. You open an app and food arrives at your door. The battle against winter feels finished. But for almost all of human history, it wasn't. For thousands of generations, every winter was a test, and every spring was a victory. The fact that you're alive today means your ancestors passed that test over and over again. Against the cold, against hunger, against impossible odds. And in many ways, human civilization exists because they refused to lose.